I hit that at 18. Like my entire life goal, life dream, I hit it now, and now I'm like, well, what do I do?
But that's not the purpose of a relationship. I can't fill the voice of a woman, and the woman can't fill the voice of me. That's between you, a therapist, and Jesus, and I ain't neither one of them.
And we could write you a citation, or I could let you off with a warning if you promise to slow down for me. He said, but to get the warning, you gotta win my trivia game.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Randy. This is episode 2. I actually split up my first recording day into a second episode. So I'm still on location in Karma Coffee House in Cullman, Alabama. And I've got 3 conversations ready for you guys to hear today. If you're new to this podcast, thank you so much for listening. This is Coffee with Randy. Essentially what I do is I set up in random coffee shops around my city or around my state, and I ask random people to just come up and share their story with me. They get some free coffee, we have a good conversation, and at the end of the day, they get a chance to win $50 if everyone else enjoyed their conversation as well. Normally, like a day or two after I post an episode is when I'm going to post a poll on Instagram, and I'm going to ask everyone what their favorite conversation is. People vote, and the top winner is the one that gets $50. So I encourage you, if you were there and you shared a story, get your friends to listen, get your friends to vote. Share the podcast in that way. Lastly, if you're listening to this in real time, the current day is going to be May 30th when you listen to this. If you listen to it on the first day, I am recording again in Karma June 1st, which is this Saturday. I'm planning on being there at 9 a.m., set up, ready for stories and conversation. So if you are in the Cullman area or if you are in Alabama and you can make it to Cullman, June 1st, Saturday, 9 a.m. at Karma Coffee House in the Warehouse District. Hope to see you there. Thank you, guys. Let's get into the conversations.
My name is William, and this is a story about me and some country cops.
Nice.
Okay, so when I was, it's my first semester of college, I just turned 19. My now wife and I, had just been dating for about half a year now. We went to a town in Tennessee that we lived pretty close to go to McDonald's and get milkshakes. And I believe it was Christmas Eve, actually, so right around Christmas time. And we went to McDonald's and got small milkshakes, and we sat and talked in the parking lot for several hours. Now...
You were dating at the time?
Yeah, we had been dating for not quite half a year.
Okay.
Not quite half a year. This was several years ago now. And so her father had told me she needs to be home by 11:30.
Okay.
And he's my father-in-law now, and I love him, and I'm not afraid of him at all. But at the time, I was still very scared of him. He's a veteran of 20-plus years. He has multiple firearms.
All right.
I had lots of reasons to be afraid of him at the time, which is good. The McDonald's was about a 20-minute drive from my then-girlfriend, now wife's house. And I looked at the clock, and we had talked so long we'd lost track of time, and it was 11:15. I had 15 minutes to make a 20-minute drive. And so, my heart stopped, and I mid-sentence, put it in reverse and took off out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
And
buckled up, of course, buckled and...
Yeah, of course. Didn't break that law. I broke the other law. I did 45 all the way through town. I knew it was a 30.
Yeah.
Grown up there, knew it was a 30. But it was late at night, and I thought I could get away with it.
Yeah.
What I didn't know is that there was a town cop car with all lights off sitting at the bowling alley, which is like halfway through town. So I passed the bowling alley, and I'm doing 15 over in a residential area, so they pull out after me.
Yeah.
But all of the Christmas lights up distracted me, so I didn't think about the fact that there were lights in my rearview mirror, which I should have because they were blue, and most people's Christmas lights are not blue.
But to be fair, you were also trying your hardest.
Exactly.
You were terrified.
I was looking forward, not back, man.
Yeah.
So I'm doing 15 over, and I get onto a straightaway. This is Middle Tennessee, where the roads are very curvy. So I finally get onto a straightaway, and I can see that those lights are blue, and they're blinking, and they're following me. And I had never really gotten in trouble ever as a kid, so I was very nervous. Thinking about what her parents were going to say, what my parents were going to say. So I pulled over. My hand, trembling.
Yeah.
And so this very nice city police officer, probably in his early 50s, walks up and knocks on my window, rolled my window down. I gave him my license, did the whole thing, and he shone a flashlight in and said, "You folks coming back from a party?" I said, "Nope, just McDonald's. Look, milkshakes, whipped cream, still wet." And I was visibly shaking. He said, "Man, you don't have to be nervous." You know, what were you guys doing? I was like, we were just talking. He's like, okay, all right, milkshakes, all right. Immediately, I thought, this officer thinks I've been drinking.
Yeah.
And so I said, how long were you behind me before I noticed you? I just now noticed you. And he said, about a mile or two. And
That's a long time.
That's a
when
long
cop is-
time to not notice
Yeah.
a police car. So I said, yeah, I'm sorry. We were just in a hurry. I didn't notice you. He said, okay. Then he looked kind of behind me and he said, hey, buddy, you write with lead pencils? And I said, sometimes, usually not. He said, what's that in your floorboard back there? And I turned around and there was a small little plastic capsule that contained 4 lead pencil erasers.
Right.
Okay.
Kind of like
it-
an artist would carry.
Right. At some point, it had been in my pocket, and at some point, I had sat down, and it had fallen out of my pocket into my seat and rolling through the seat and was rolling around on my back floorboard. But in the dark, all you could see was a little cylinder of white-looking capsules.
He thinks it's like drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was so nervous. I couldn't even take my seatbelt off. My hands were shaking so bad. So I was trying to reach it. I couldn't get it. My girlfriend got it for me, and I showed it to the officer, and my hand was doing this. And right away, he knew what it was.
Yeah.
But he was messing with me, so he took it, and he turned it around in the flashlight. And he was cackling, too, when he gave it back to me. He said, okay, I'm going to go run your license there, buddy. We'll be right back. So he walks away. I think I said every 4-letter word under the sun.
Yeah.
My dad's going to kill me. Your dad's maybe literally will kill me.
Yeah.
A minute later, the officer comes back and he says something to the effect of, all right, man, listen, it's Christmas Eve and it's late and we want to go home and we could write you a citation or I could let you off with a warning if you promise to slow down for me. I said, okay, a warning sounds great.
Yeah.
I'd also just gotten my first ever traffic ticket a couple months earlier, so I really wasn't eager to repeat that.
Yeah.
And he said, but to get the warning, you got to win my trivia game. I said,
And you're still nervous.
I'm
nervous.
so terrified. I said,
Yeah.
okay. And he looked at us and he said, your categories are Nicki Minaj and 12 Days of Christmas. Which one do y'all want?
Wow.
And we looked at each other and we don't know anything about Nicki Minaj, so we both said 12 Days of Christmas, please.
Yeah.
And he said, okay.
But there's a lot. I don't know all of them. I'd have to almost sing the song.
I did
know where
not
you're
know
going with
them.
this, but
I did
yeah.
not know them,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. He said, what are there 8 of in the song 12 Days of Christmas? And I said, 8 Lords a Leaping, which is not right.
Oh, no, it's...
And
Nine-
my girlfriend slapped me on the mouth so hard my head hit the back of my seat. And she said, it's 8 Maids a Milking.
Yeah.
Now, right as she said that, the other cop in the car had come back with my license. But for whatever reason, my car at the time, the windows were locked, so she couldn't roll the window down. So she had to open the door. So the door's open.
Yeah.
This other cop, who's maybe in his mid-20s, late 20s, has his torso in my car to hand back my license. And the original officer, the older one, says, I've got to have the answer from the driver. So she takes her hand off my mouth, and he says, what's your final answer, son? And I said, 8 Maids a Milking. He said, is that your final answer? And I said, yes. And that's around the time the other officer is sticking his head and shoulder into the car to hand my girlfriend back my driver's license.
Yeah.
And the other cop sticks his head in the window, my window, and says, they got it, Gunner. 8 Maids a Milking. And Gunner said, all right. And they closed the doors, and the other officer said, now y'all drive safe and slow down and Merry Christmas. And I said, thank you, officer. And
Wow.
we took off on the highway doing exactly the speed limit.
Yeah. Not one iota
No,
over.
maybe one under, actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
30 seconds later, I looked over at her and said, what just happened? That happened, right? And to this day, every year or so, I have to ask, that really happened, right? You remember that too, right?
That's insane.
My parents
man.
learned about that a few years after it happened.
Yeah, okay. So you kept that. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I have to follow up question.
Yeah,
What happened when you got home? What got her home?
that's a great question. She texted her parents and heavily implied that we had been caught in a speed trap, which is technically true in
It
the
is.
sense that I was speeding and they trapped me for it.
Smart. Yep. And
So-
it was taking a while.
This
Otherwise.
deflected
Yeah.
her parents' blame from me to uptight city police,
Yes. Yes.
which I was happy to let them think at the time. So when I got her home, not only were they not mad at me, they were sympathetic to me.
Yeah.
And
Helped your
I
case.
didn't have a curfew at all. So when I got home a little bit later than usual, my parents didn't say anything about it.
Yeah. That's incredible.
I was still home before midnight.
You might, I mean, if you rallied with your father-in-law against the police, you might say that this was one of the leading causes for y'all eventually getting married.
Yeah. I mean, it sure didn't hurt.
Okay, so maybe leading is a little bit
It sure
reaching.
didn't hurt.
Sure didn't hurt.
Sure
though.
didn't hurt.
Dude, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your story.
Yeah, happy
That's great.
to.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Have a great one.
You too.
Hi, I'm Mary. We're gonna chat and see where it goes.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Mary,
Perfect.
for chatting with me today.
Of course.
So you're a barista here
Yes.
at Karma.
Oh yeah, best job I've had.
Yeah?
It's definitely a favorite. I didn't realize how much I'd like making coffee.
Okay, so is that your favorite part, is actually making the coffee?
It is. I've gotten to the point where I know what I'm doing enough that it's so automatic that I like don't even have to think.
That's cool.
And that's so nice to have a job where I'm like I don't have to think while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because I've been a waitress before and I had to think really, really hard when I
Right.
was a waitress.
Yeah.
So
So
it's a nice job.
What is your favorite drink to make?
Any coffees. Coffees are the act of espresso. The way
Okay.
that you just kind of do that and the pressing of it and the like it's just so rhythmic. It's almost like dancing. It's
Okay.
like making art with my hands and
Yeah.
I'm trying to do latte art. I can't do much more than a heart right now, but I really do enjoy that and like just the movements.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the latte art that you're hoping to like achieve one day?
There's a swan that people
seen
do. James does it.
James
I can't
can do it.
I'm pretty sure I've seen him do one like that before,
Yeah.
but I'm just not there yet. I
Yeah.
can't get the squiggles right.
That's okay.
You know, I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, for sure. So I've also heard with latte art that if you use regular milk, it's so much easier than like almond milk.
Yes. So the foam that you need to do the latte art, it's much easier to get it with whole milk, but I never drink whole milk. So I find that like I can do it with oat milk or with almond milk just the same.
Gotcha.
But some people are like, yeah, they steam differently. And I'm like, do they? I mean, I
Interesting.
wouldn't know. I'm not a coffee person.
Okay. So I don't know too much about latte art, but
Mm-hmm.
I do know that you hold the milk
Mm-hmm.
in there, and then when your hand starts to warm up, you kind of move it down to froth it
Yes.
and everything. And that'll
Most of the time, or the way I was taught, you'd put the air in first so that it's quiet as it's steaming, and then you kind of just try and get as many air bubbles out, and then
Okay.
the foam still sits on top.
Yeah.
But if you have too much foam, then it just all turns white. But if you have too little, then you don't have enough to work with.
Yeah.
So you got to find that like perfect medium, which
Gotcha.
is still a work in progress.
Okay.
but-
Yeah. So you've mentioned something about like making coffee is like a
Yeah.
dance. Is that how you see things? Like, do you see things as a dance, and or things you enjoy?
More, yes. So one thing about me is like when I get really anxious, something that always has calmed my anxiety is repetitive motions.
Okay.
And so I worked at an Italian restaurant before I moved here. And one of the things that we would do, I was a to-go person, so we'd make salads. And it was the same 5 movements over and over again. And it gave me time to where my hands were moving and my brain was working. And if I feel like I always am thinking to a beat.
Yeah.
So I'm always moving to a beat as well.
Yeah.
And once I find that rhythm, it just all happens.
Yeah.
And it's just there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So like muscle memory, sort
Yes.
of. Things
That's a
that
big
you're
thing.
able to do repetitively without thinking. Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Those are my favorite things of like giving my brain, like it's not that I'm not being productive, but I'm giving my brain the space to just think and let the wheels turn
Yeah.
as I'm doing something.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I have a few things that are like that, and I like to like listen to podcasts or music while I'm doing that because
Yeah.
it just chills out the mind and you're just able to flow with it. You know,
Music.
there's a thing called flow state actually. I don't know if you know about it, but flow state
Heard of it.
is like where an expert or someone who's really good at their craft, or I mean, even maybe they're just even new, but they've done it
Mm-hmm.
before. They enter into their mind enters into like, I know how to do this. I'm going to just take over, and you
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
enter a flow state, and you don't even think about it, and it's just happening, and you can lose yourself in it, and you're super productive, or you're really good at it. It's kind of like sometimes when you're driving, and you're thinking about everything else, and you don't even
Yeah.
realize that you've driven home.
Yeah.
You know, and you're at home, but you didn't think about it. You just
No.
did it because you've done it so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is something that, because I didn't start driving until last year. So I
Okay.
didn't start driving when I was 16. I started driving when I was 18.
Gotcha.
So something I never thought I was going to be able to do was to not have to think so hard about what I'm doing when I'm driving. And now I'm like, well, I just do it. Like, it's so funny how you start things, and like even training here, I'm like, I'm never going to get this. It's never going to be something that I can't think so hard about. And then now I'm like, well, I just do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just my life.
Yeah.
And I love that you can look back and be like, oh, wait. I remember when I was like, I'm never going to have to.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, actually, I just do it.
You just do it. Like you've done it so many times that you're used to it,
Yeah.
and it's not a hard task anymore.
Yeah.
So were you apprehensive about driving?
I was not. So my older sister went that route, and she is somebody who is, shout out my sister, hope she doesn't mind this. She's someone who's naturally pretty socially anxious,
Yeah.
and I'm somebody who's not.
Yeah.
And the thought of, because we were homeschooled, so the thought of going into a public school to take driver's ed was huge.
Yeah.
And so she ended up waiting until she was 18 because of that. And because she felt she wasn't ready to drive. And my parents were always like, you know, having those 2 extra years of wisdom. And I feel like your mind matures so much, even in just those 2 years, from 16 to 18, that the decision making you're doing while you're driving, they felt that we were better at that when we were older than we would be when we were 16.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
I honestly, I got it so that I could get in-state tuition because I had to have a driver's license here instead of in North Carolina.
Okay, gotcha.
But they're doing the same thing with my little brother who just turned 16, and like he's got his permit, but they're gonna wait 2 years to get his license until he's like driving by himself.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it, honestly, it's been the best thing for me and my sister.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know how kids drive at 16.
Yeah.
Because I was such a nervous wreck driving at 16, and I feel so different now
Yeah.
that I'm like, well, you know, I feel like those 2 years really can make a difference.
For sure. I have a little bit of a different perspective because I'm older. So I'm 36. I don't know if you knew that, but
Oh no, I thought you were 28.
anyway, thank you. You get extra points for that.
I'm glad.
When I think about a 16-year-old getting behind the wheel and driving around,
Yeah.
that is terrifying.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
in my mind, because I know what I was like when I was 16. And just
Yeah.
to like some more context, I didn't drive till I was 18 either.
Oh,
because
really?
other people that I knew from my church, they either had a driver's license or someone had a driver's license. And I was always
Yeah.
hanging out with people. So they
Oh,
could
yeah,
drive
makes
us
sense.
places. And then finally, I think it was because I ended up needing to get a ride back and forth to school. And it just didn't work out any other way for me to get one
Yeah.
myself. So anyway, I kind of agree with you that like 16 might be too young.
Yeah. I mean, kids in some states, they can get their permit as early as 14. And to
Yeah.
me, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much going on in your head, 14 to, like, 16.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But then you say 16 to 18, you're good. Like, for some kids, of course, like, whatever.
Yeah.
For me, I was, like, just where I was at 16, I wasn't there yet.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And we were also homeschooled, so, like, we got to take it slow. And I took driver's ed late because of COVID. So, like, everything kind of just worked out for me to be that way.
Sure.
But I definitely think it was for the better. And I think with my future kids, I'd give them the option. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to get your license now and you feel like you're ready, then that's fine. But if you want to wait the 2 years or an extra year, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to keep up with everybody else,
Yeah, that makes total sense.
that's what it is.
Yeah, I agree completely. Switching gears a little bit, we follow each other on Instagram now, as
Yes.
of like maybe a day or two.
Yeah.
And I noticed you posted that you are finishing up at a local community college here.
Yes.
And you're now going to go to a college that's like an hour and a half away or so?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
like an hour 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying names just in case.
Oh,
you know.
no, you're good.
I didn't know. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't
no,
want to.
it's
I didn't want
fine.
to breach that. You know.
Yeah, I try and keep it. I'm a very private person, so
Yeah.
like even on my private Instagram, I kind of keep it to acronyms, but also like bragging.
Yeah. No. Yeah, for sure. So, but the college you're going to, I mean, it's like it is a distance away from here. So are
Yes.
you moving?
I am moving.
Aw,
I have.
I'm so sad.
I know. I have a dorm assignment, and I've gotten everything kind of in order for that, and it's been something that I've been waiting on for years, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of it's hitting me now that like it's kind of weird to have that like college is my dream.
Yeah.
I hit that at 18. Like my entire life's goal, life's dream. I hit it now, and now I'm like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I have the summer
Uh-huh.
to just do whatever, and I'm like, I have no idea because I've just hit it.
Yeah.
I've just like I pretty much accomplished my dream. It
Okay.
starts in the fall, whatever.
But you did hit it. But
Yes.
college is a big adventure. There's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
to it. What are you studying for?
I'm going to go into business, marketing, sales.
Hey, that's up my alley. I love
Really?
all of that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm a business owner.
Oh
so-
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I decided to recently pick up a minor of digital marketing.
That's
because
cool.
it's so big, and I love just playing around with social media and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it would be a fun avenue to kind of dive deep behind the scenes on like the technical side of like classes and stuff, but also that experience on a resume is huge, especially nowadays. Social media is so big.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's my company is
Mm-hmm.
Crema Video, and we do video for content creators and stuff. Like they send us the raw footage,
Yeah.
and we edit it and then put it
And
back.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so
and they're
like-
just people.
Huh?
They're just people. And
Yeah,
they
no,
started
they
out
are.
like just normal, and that's so crazy that like how that takes off, and yeah,
Yeah.
that whole world is just crazy.
It's wild.
To me.
It's wild. But you're right though. They are people, and they have the most human interactions at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They also have these crazy So recently, I was with a client, and we went to eat at this place that like served tacos and stuff. Think like Mo Southwest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we were checking out, and as we were checking out, a girl behind the counter said, "Oh my gosh, I know who you guys are! I cannot believe it!" She started shaking, and she got a photo, or maybe she, I don't remember, but anyway, she like freaked out and was so happy,
Yeah.
and that interaction made her day. And like then me and the client, we were chatting afterwards, and they were like, it made their day too, because they were like, because
Yeah.
it feels so sweet to know that someone cares about stuff that you create
Yeah.
and that you put out there. Because like numbers are one thing on social media,
Yeah.
you see it all around, but that never beats an interaction, a person
Yeah.
talking to you and
Face to
saying,
face.
"I love your stuff."
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so it's really fun to see like both sides of that. When you say that
Yeah.
they're same, I guess you're saying humans too.
Yeah, which it's some people. It's hard to not think of people as humans anymore once they kind of hit that point where
Yeah.
they're like famous or whatever. But I was trying like, well, if I was in their shoes, that's just their normal life. That's just what they do, and
Yeah.
that's so fun to have that as your job. Like I watch people go around and like Anna. Oh, I forget her last name. She's on Instagram. She does fit checks and like wanders around New York.
Okay.
And she's one of my favorite influencers because she's so real about it, and she just chats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how cool is it that she just does fit checks for her like everyday job and just wanders around New York and gets all these cool opportunities, and like that would be so cool to do. But I'm more of the like, I'd rather work. You
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
I love doing that on the side for fun, but I don't think I could ever do like an influencer job.
Well, but you could do some sort of hybrid where you do some of that and you share cool industry stuff about influencers or social media. I mean, especially since that's what you are going to school. I mean,
Right.
marketing and business and all that. So speaking of that, like you said, that's not what you want to do though. But what do you want to do with that? Like, do you have an idea of what you kind of want to
So-
get into?
The main goal is, so I always said I wanted to be a personal assistant. I wanted
Okay.
a job where I wasn't just sitting. I wanted something to keep me on my feet because I have a lot of energy all the time. And so that was a big one. But my kind of goal is UNA, the school I'm going to, it's very big with internships. And a lot of kids get internships straight out the gate.
Cool.
So, internships. And if that leads to a job, great. If it doesn't, the goal is to be a flight attendant.
Oh, cool.
After college and kind of fly around in my 20s, and then once I hit my 30s and I'm ready to like settle down and stay in one place, to kind of do that. But I want to do as much as I can in the time that I have while my body can still do that.
Okay.
Because I know I'm going to hit a point where I'm just like tired. And I'm just not ready to do that. But, if an opportunity or if there's a job that is set in front of me that I can so clearly see is meant for me, I'm just going to pursue that and take with it. I don't know what's going to happen after college. I'm just going to college.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there are any influencers out there who are looking for a remote personal assistant, or you're in North Alabama, yeah,
I'll be here.
yeah, for sure. Or if you need someone for the next few months in Central Alabama.
Yeah, I will be here. I'll be chilling. I'll be working here at Karma's. So, just hit me up. I'll make business cards. We can
There
do
you go.
it.
There you go. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for just chatting with me.
Of course.
And talking.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun.
Just tangents.
Yeah,
The best
definitely.
part.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd want to say before we sign off?
Can I shout out my dad?
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Dad. I emailed him about this. I was like, hey, by the way, this is a cool opportunity I got recently. Life update.
That's so cool. Because they're back in North Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always email my dad because it's kind of like writing letters, but it gets there faster.
Yeah.
And he's a businessman, so, he'll see emails. So shout out my dad. Love
That's
you.
so cool. Oh, that's fun. Do you visit often?
I
Not to
try
put pressure on you.
Oh, no. I try to. It's hard. It's expensive, and it's a very long drive.
Yeah.
So, which my sister always likes to remind me that it's a two-way street. We can come see you too, but
That's true.
yeah, I try to visit. I'm going back in the summer before my parents move me into college, so I'm super
fun.
stoked.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Shout out Mary's dad.
Shout out my dad.
Thank you again.
Of course, thank you.
Hi, my name is James, and this is my story.
What's up, James? Let's hear it.
I am 31 years old. I am a resident of Lawrence County, Alabama. I am a father. I am a pastor. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm also a podcast host myself of the Just James podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Podbean. We eventually will be on Spotify, and we're on Google Podcasts, which eventually goes to YouTube in the next few months. We address spirituality, Christian spirituality, apologetics, men's mental health, and just topics that needs to be addressed within our community.
For sure. Yeah. How many episodes you got?
I think I have 7 episodes so
cool.
far. I have 3 more episodes to do before my first season is up. Then I'll be working on season 2.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you think about it so far? Because this is like, I just told you before the camera started rolling, this is episode 1 for me.
Right.
So what do you think? Like, give me some advice.
Man, I love it. It's almost like a journal, if you will. For me personally, it's almost like a journal, almost like a form of talk therapy, especially when you talk about things that make you feel like you're isolated or alone in how you feel. But when you realize that there are groups of people that feel the same thing, and when you address it, they're like, oh my gosh, like someone feels the same way. Oh my gosh, that resonates with me. So they'll subscribe just because of that. I mean, I had an incident today where certain things were said, and I spoke out on a particular matter that I received a couple DMs about, like, man, I was thinking the same thing, or, oh man, I was saying the same thing. So I realized a lot of people think the same way or feel the same way about certain things, but they're waiting for somebody to openly say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So usually the first one to say it is the first one they gravitate to.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So you just open the door and you're holding it open for people.
Correct.
Yeah, that's cool. Before the camera started rolling, you mentioned that you want to talk a lot about mental health from a guy's perspective.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that is missing a lot in culture, but I think people are starting to wake up to that. The fact that men go through a lot, but most of the time we're either told to keep it in, don't talk about it, or just suck it up and make, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when it comes to men and men's mental health, what I've learned through various watching people who are smarter than me and people reliable in their field is that a lot of male psychologists and therapists say that, talk therapy is good, but what they say is therapy has been geared more towards women because they like to talk.
Right.
The girl, what's going on? They dumped me. No, is something wrong with me? No, stop. That's what they like to do. And there's no knock to that. But fellas, we like to reserve in.
Yeah.
Because I think with men, we want to know, are we capable? That's the thing with us. It's not just talking about how we feel, because we know how we feel, but it's, am I capable of facing what disappointed me again?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if someone can tell me that I'm capable and then give me the tools to make me feel capable, then I can do it again. Yeah. I'll walk through barbed wire to get it done. I just need to know how to get it done.
Yeah.
And the issue that we're facing in masculinity and manhood right now, and I have working on a book called Mapping Manhood and Masculinity. I'm still working on it. Pray for me. Working for like 3 years. Is that men, when it comes to women, they have a lot of more examples than what we do.
Yeah.
If we go to a family reunion, there's mostly women at the family reunion than men.
Yeah.
Right. And because a lot of men, they work themselves to the bone, and the men may not have the verbal ability to communicate hard truths and emotional truths that we needed. So as we're trying, or some men didn't have fathers in their life, so they're trying to find masculinity as masculinity is changing and evolving at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it so difficult. So what I realized is that we have broken women who were raised by broke or abandoned by broken parents telling broken men who were raised by or abandoned by broken parents what a real man should be.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And mostly their identity is filled upon, or their purpose in each other's life is, how well can you fill this void in my life, as opposed to how well do we mesh together?
Yeah.
Because if you can't fill this void, then I don't think there's a use for you. But that's not the purpose of a relationship for
Right.
man or female.
Right.
I can't fill the voids of a woman, and the woman can't fill the voids for me. That's between you, a therapist, and Jesus, and I ain't neither one of them.
That's where I was actually going to lead into, is that what does fill the void, and also modern man is looking towards those women to answer what is masculine, and that's failing. Where should modern man look for an example of masculinity?
The example of masculinity that I look towards to is Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying that to be facetious or to be, because we're in a Bible Belt. I'm not trying to say that, But when you actually just look at the story of who Jesus is, not what the American church has portrayed what Jesus is. If you look at that, it's a very metrosexual, long, flowy hair, and he's sexy, man. Like, Jesus looks sexy. But when you read the Bible, he ain't sexy. Like, the dude, he's a hardworking man. He's a blue collar man who came up from the trenches.
Yeah.
So that means his hands were rough. And he knew who to be soft. He knew how to be soft with children and women who were down and orphans and widows. But when it came to injustice, when it came towards wrongdoing, he spoke up and said, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? So the measure of the man is the example of Christ himself. Not what the American church says about Jesus, but what the Bible says about Jesus. When we look at who Jesus is, we see that Jesus operates in three realms. And there's actually three offices in the kingdom of Israel. It's king, the high priest, and the prophet. Because it was always a king, there was always a high priest, and there was always a prophet.
Yeah.
And because the Bible says there will be a prophet likened unto Elijah, right?
Right.
And the Bible says he's a high priest on the order of Melchizedek, right? Okay. And the Bible says that he is of the line of David, that he's actually the king of Israel by blood.
Right. King David.
So he fills all three. So we look at what a man is in their home, not just in their home, but in life. A man's supposed to be a king, a high priest, and a prophet.
Okay, that's a high measure. Yeah. I mean, honestly.
I mean, it's not necessarily a high measure, but in the sense of it's expressing your true self in him.
Yeah.
If I can explain. So
yeah.
Part of my story is this: before the age of 30. I have encountered a lot of things. I lost a high-paying job, endured depression, anxiety, borderline suicidal thoughts, host of litany. COVID-19 happened to my whole family. Things happened to my mom. I was in a very toxic marriage, and eventually I had to watch my father die. And then a few months after that, my wife filed for divorce.
Wow.
This all before the age of 30, right? So. And my dad, man, my dad was great. I love my dad. If you listen to the first episode of my podcast, it's dedicated to my dad.
Nice.
And he was a very prayerful man. Like, he woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning and praying. Like, he would go on 21-day, 40-day fast as a type 2 diabetic.
Oh wow.
I'm like, I ain't got there yet. You know what I'm saying? Ain't got there yet. So I found myself after he passed trying to emulate my father, and it was so hard. Because that was my standard of spirituality. That was my standard of Christianity. Yeah. Of my relationship with God. And then God began to speak to me. He said, James, did you love your father? I said, of course, I love my father. I did everything I could for him. Did you serve your father? I said, yes. Did you talk to him? I said, yes, I did. Did you confide in him? I said, yes, I did. He said, James, everything you did for him, do it for me.
Yeah.
You don't have to change anything. Just keep doing what you're doing, but do it unto me.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, I didn't have to change anything.
Yeah.
I just kept it the same. I just shifted my focus. I hear the same, like, your father was just a training ground for me.
Wow. That's deep.
So in that process, that's how I was able to walk this. So it's not that I do everything right, because you're not going to, but it's that I understand my place in Christ Jesus, that he's my father.
Yeah.
So he's my father, and many people's aspect of fathers are very negative because, and I think that's the issue that we're having when it comes to masculinity is that we know God, many of us know God as a coach. We know God as a general if you've been in the military. We know God as a boss. We know God as this. But it's very rare that we know him as father.
Right.
Because of that space, that wound, that void from a man's life, from a young boy's life. So when I learned him as father, my compassion became different. My worship became different. My prayer was different. It wasn't begging. It was consulting.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a slave. I'm not a servant. I'm a son. And as a son, I have certain rights. You know, I can't. Do you have any kids?
Yeah, I have 2.
Okay, so I just can't barge into your bedroom door. Like, hey, how you doing? No, but you know them kids can.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. Anything they want, pretty much. Yeah,
Why? Because they're yours.
that's true.
So if you feel that way about your kids, how God feels that way about you.
Yeah, that's true.
He feels that way about you. But we have made God such a far away thing. But no, he's right there.
Yeah.
And he is your father. If you have kids, I got kids, man. There's no privacy. There's no privacy. Can I, like, son, can I have some privacy? No.
Yeah, they don't care.
They do not care.
Taking a shower,
Man, it don't matter.
in the bathroom, they don't
I'll
matter.
be in the shower and I just look over the shower right, and I see that door open. I'm like,
Here they come.
oh my gosh. Daddy, you taking a shower? Yes, son, I am taking a shower. Yep. Can you close the door, please? He's in the code. Okay.
Yep.
Like, we're his kids.
But they have. If that would have been anyone else, it'd be different.
if
But
it was anybody else,
yeah.
man, we throwing hands. What you doing in my house? Why are you in this bathroom? What's
Yeah.
going on?
That's a great point. So let me ask you this. I'm a Christian, so I agree with you on all this. As someone who may be thinking that someone's listening and they have a bad relationship with their father. You had a great one, sounds like.
Yes.
Someone who had a bad relationship with the father. And now it's, like you said, it's hard for them to see God as their father. What would you say to that person?
Okay. I would tell them that every area that your father was not, God is.
That's good.
Everything that's wrong with your father, God is the exact opposite of.
Yeah.
Because my dad didn't have a healthy father. My grandfather was very abusive to my father, and my aunts and my uncle, very abusive. But he made a conscious choice that I'm not gonna do this to my child. So matter of fact, my dad told me before he passed, the first time his dad told him that he loved him was when he was in his 30s, when he preached his first sermon.
Wow.
I'm 31.
Yeah. Can you imagine that being the first time?
I'm 31, and I can't remember a day my dad never just keep telling me that he loved me. He always told me he loved me. He was proud of me all the time.
Yeah.
But the first time he heard it when he was 30, when he was in his early 30s,
Yeah.
and he preached his first sermon, and his dad told him that he loved him.
Wow.
So you can learn. You can receive from just understand that every area that your father was lacking in, that your father didn't have, that your heavenly father is rich in. I mean, he is overflowing in till it don't make sense. And watch this, you don't have to earn it.
Yeah, that's big.
Because I think as men, we live a life where we feel like we have to earn everything. That's something, because I understand as men, sometimes we do. Life tells us, suck it up, get it done. But when it comes to God, I don't have to earn anything.
Yeah.
Like, he gives it to me.
Because you barged into the shower.
I barge to the shower, man. You know what I'm saying? Barge to the shower. Even with my dad, he could be in the office talking, and I'll just barge and I'll just open the door. And before the door be halfway open, he'll be like, "It's James."
Yep.
He just knew that I was coming.
Yeah.
Because as a son, I have that right.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. Hey, let me ask you this. You're on your 7th episode?
Yes.
Okay. So just why don't you shout out you already said it, but say your podcast name again.
Okay.
Shout out yourself and I'll make sure to put all the show notes down below. Like, I'm probably going to get 5 people to watch this, but
fine.
that might be 5 people that go check
Hey,
you
I
out.
appreciate that, man. Well, I have the Just James podcast. You can find me on Apple Podcasts. You can find me on Podbean. I'll be on Spotify eventually. On Google Podcasts. I have my graphic design business, Visuals by Vito.
Nice.
So you can inbox me. I'm on Facebook. You can inbox me. I also have my personal ministry page at J.E. Vito Ministries. I'm on Facebook with that as well. I'm working on the website right now, so I'm trying to get that all up and running as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I will. I'm gonna link as much as I can down below.
Absolutely.
And you send me those out when we're offline or whatever.
Absolutely.
But, man, it was great hearing from you and great hearing your story. And thank you.
Man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you too.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys did too. Again, please go to the Instagram account Coffee with Randy, because I'm going to have a poll on there for you guys to vote as to who had the best conversation, and the best conversation gets the $50. Also, I'm going to be at Karma again June 1st, like I said at the beginning of this episode. So if you want to be on the podcast, or you just want to come by and meet me, you don't even have to be on the podcast. Let's just chat. We could do it chat without the cameras, without the microphone. That's fine too. Come on by June 1st, 9 a.m. at Karma Coffee House. I'll probably be set up somewhere in the back just because it's a little easier with all the stuff. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. And until then, I hope that you have great coffee and even greater conversations.